I hit the red button. Is it working? On, recording. Recording myself in my garage all alone. Good evening, good morning, good day, everyone around the world, motorcyclists, friends, brothers, and sisters. Zach Kortz here, isolated in my garage with Ari Henning's motorcycle. And I'm here to talk to you today about what makes a motorcycle good. Okay, what's the first topic? The first subject in line is a motorcycle's purpose, not to be confused with the motorcycle's porpoise, which is sometimes what Goldwing guys put on their antenna. Purpose of a motorcycle is very important to understand because motorcycles are engineered to do many, many different things, right? A cruiser is a bad dirt bike. A dirt bike, oftentimes, a bad cruiser. So when I first see a motorcycle, when I'm first trying to learn about a motorcycle, I definitely try and understand its purpose. What is it for? Why do people want it? Who is the intended audience? And how should it work practically in the world? Because before you even touch a motorcycle, understanding that will help you understand why a motorcycle exists in the first place. If you're lucky, you will get to have a first ride. This encompasses a lot for me, first ride, and it's gonna sound a little bit silly, but the first impression of a motorcycle is often just really the most important thing that happens in the evaluation of a bike. It starts from the first moment that you see a bike. In person is different than a bike in pictures, right? Like sometimes they look bigger or smaller, or whether the paint is nice, whether the fit and finish seems good, or there are like gaps in panels and it seems kind of cobbled together. Usually that coincides with how expensive a bike is, but it doesn't always. Starting it up for the first time, hearing the engine for the first time, pulling in the clutch, dropping into the gear for the first time. All that stuff only ever happens once as the first time. This is why your first time doing anything in particular is... Anyway, the point is, I really try to let that soak in because it is so vivid. That's the most vivid that your brain ever records that kind of thing because it's the first time that you've done it. To that point, the first 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds of a ride is where I often just drink in the most information about the new machine. It's very, very common for me and Ari when we do comparison tests to ride out of the parking lot at the office, go maybe half a mile or through one or two stoplights, and then just stop, pull over, and take notes on our phones or in a notepad. It starts to gel, it starts to come together. And that's one of the reasons that the first impression can often be the most important. Moving right along, erasing the first ride, erasing the first time. Next up, I've spent some time on the bike. I've done my first ride. I've cruised home, or I've started the comparison test or whatever. Now, I'm starting to actually spend time on the machine in a meaningful way. Spending 100 miles, 500 miles, 1,000 miles. This is where the machine's function comes into play. Function. This is a very broad term, as you'll see. Function is the meat and potatoes of a motorcycle evaluation. This is where I start to live with the motorcycle. We are moved in together, if you will. Things I often care a lot about to do with functionality, fuel range, for example. Sometimes bikes are awesome, but they only go 110 miles before you need to fill up. If you burn through one tank or you go on a test ride, you're just gonna be like, this thing's great. But once you're riding it every single day and you have a 40-mile commute and you have to fill up every 100 miles, which means basically every other day you're getting gas that morning, it's annoying. It detracts from the awesome. Luggage also, headlights also, transmission, another good example. Thanks for mentioning that. Sometimes transmissions seem good, they seem like they work well, but then, you're just catching false neutrals and it's always between 5th and 6th. Why is it always between 5th and 6th? I always miss that shift. Also ergonomics. Maybe a blinker switch seems a little bit annoying at first, but then you just totally get used to it and it's totally fine and it's actually not that big a deal. But sometimes blinker switches are miserable. Old BMWs or some Harleys nowadays, they have the thing where you gotta hit this button and then hit it again to cancel it, or there's a cancel button. Blinkers have been figured out. They've been solved. Left, right, push to cancel. You walk up to a bike and it's super racy, and this is what the mirror looks like. That mirror is gonna be hot garbage. If a mirror looks like this, it's supposed to be round for what it's worth, this could be a style play. They could be just making it look retro. Is the headlight and the taillight also round? Dead giveaway. But it also could just be a sort of simple mirror, and that's fine. Something that looks like this, it's kind of boring. It's like a geometric and weird, it's probably gonna be great. These are exactly the kinds of things that you can be and should be thinking about when you sidle up to a bike. Maybe you don't care about mirrors as much as I do, but these are the things that I think about. The more time you spend with a bike, the more likely you are to understand all of the little nuances, right? If you do an oil change, you might find that the oil drains directly onto the header, and that's annoying. And that's something that you're gonna have to deal with as the owner of that motorcycle. So I try and spend as much time as possible with a motorcycle before I claim to understand it. Water break, quiet on the set. You're not supposed to touch your face, right? Okay, so I've understood the purpose of the machine, I think. I've had my first ride, it was great. Then I spent a whole bunch of time with the bike. Now I really feel like I've got an understanding of it. I understand it, I get it, right? But all I understand at this point really is that machine. It's hanging in a vacuum. It doesn't mean anything yet because there is no, I made the letters in the beginning a little too big, because there is no context. Context. If you only ride one motorcycle, or one motorcycle in a class of motorcycles, say, that will be the best one that you've ever ridden. That will be the best one that you've ever tried. I really feel like I need to ride all of the different bikes in the category in order to understand it. For me, there is no better comparison than riding down the road on a motorcycle, pulling over, stopping, walking to the other motorcycle, getting on it, and going from there. Even a lunch break between riding one bike to another can be enough to sort of lose the actual context. I do understand that not everyone has that luxury, but if you have the ability to ride one bike and then the next day try another one, or the next week, whatever it is, that will really help snap into focus the things that you care about and the things that maybe you thought you cared about, but you don't actually. I think we understand context. We've covered a lot of stuff here. I think we're almost there. Now, we're gonna talk about personal use. We're gonna talk about you, dear viewer. I can tell you about the things that I care about and the ways that I do things, the way that I evaluate a motorcycle, but at the end of the day, you need to know and decide and be thoughtful and be critical of the things that matter to you. Perfect example of personal use applied to a motorcycle is this Versys 650 behind me. That is Ari Henning's Versys 650. My personal motorcycle is a KTM 950 Supermoto. It has a very tall seat height compared to a Versys. It has more horsepower, it has fewer features, it has worse wind protection. The point is, I chose that KTM 950 because that's what I wanted. I didn't want a Versys 650. In part, probably because I was 25 when I bought it. The point is, I love that bike and it's very, very entertaining to me. It does ripping wheelies and it's a little bit too loud and it's kind of ostentatious. So it sort of suits my personality, you might say. The Versys is ultimately practical. It's got excellent luggage, it's got good fuel range. It just makes sense. Not unlike my friend Ari Henning. I like to think that I have some amount of experience and context that most people don't, because I ride so many different kinds of motorcycles and I try so hard to deliver information on so many different topics and styles and types of bikes. But at the end of the day, I want you to think about it from your own perspective and keep that in mind. Okay, now that I'm high on dry erase fumes, we talked about the design ethos and mantra that goes into motorcycles, why they were designed the way they were, who the intended audience is, and how that can be meaningful for a person choosing a motorcycle, why that matters, basically. The first impression of a motorcycle, maybe your eyes met from across the International Motorcycle Show. Why the first part of riding a motorcycle can be so important and have so much impact on why a motorcycle is good or bad. Functionality, living together, the livability of a motorcycle and how you evaluate a bike over time. How it fits in, how much horsepower does it have? How much does it weigh? How much does it cost? How does it stack up to the competition, either in its class or in your own mind of cross-shopping? That counts too. And last of all, you the viewer, you the fan, you the rider. What matters to you and how that's really what it comes down to. In the end, I can tell you that a motorcycle has more horsepower than another motorcycle. What I can't tell you is how much horsepower you need, which is really the question that you should be trying to answer. For me, I need a lot, to be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever ridden a motorcycle that had too much horsepower. Some have been close. But I don't think I've actually ridden any that had too much horsepower.
I lost it! Oh no!
So there you have it, ramblings from Zach's garage. I hope some of it helps you, evaluate the bikes of your past, bikes of your future maybe. I don't know, what do I know? But I hope you'll click subscribe because we are gonna go on some kick-ass adventures and start kicking out actual motorcycle videos. In the meantime, for Aries White Versus, I'm Zach Kortz signing off from my garage. I'm gonna go get lunch. I really am hungry.